3, 2, 1.
Let's do this.
Welcome, everybody, to our BNI Talks webinar. I'm Steve Tannuzzo, your host. I am joined once again by Becky Isbell. Becky is the managing director of our BNI Houston West area. And Becky, do a quick intro, if you will.
That's it. I'm the managing director in Houston, West, Austin, San Antonio. Been in BNI for almost 13 years. Kind of like the farmers commercial. Steve and I, you've been doing this a long time. We've been there, done that, seen it. Could probably write a book on it. Absolutely love what I do, working with our members, our chapter success coaches, and our fellow teammates. And love doing, Fridays, whenever I do this, Steve, it's one of my highlights of the week.
All right. So today we're talking about time management tips, and we've got, I guess our top 10 list worked so well last time.
Did.
We brought back Dave in his little gift back when he was, young-ish.
No beard.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to do our top 10 time management tips. There were 30, but these are the ones that we kind of narrowed down to stuff you should really focus on.
And again, full disclosure, I am by no means a time management coach. I have just, again, been there, done that, and I've learned a lot, just as Steve has. And these are tips and tricks that between the two of us, we have found the most useful for us and to help us throughout our days. The old saying, work smarter, not harder. So that's what the tips that we're going to give you today, the top 10, plus there's a bonus. We hope that you find a lot of use out of them. And again, we learn from our members. Some of our best practices and ideas come from our members. So if you have something, please put it in the chat and share with us. I
think we're going to have a long list, so we'll save the chat as well.
I love it. So let's get started with number 10. If you're familiar with the list, we start at 10 and we work our way down. Number 10 is my absolute favorite BNI podcast. It's podcast number 136, if you're familiar with it. Ivan Misner talks about the difference between balance and harmony. And I wish 25-year-old me would have had access to this podcast. That's been almost 20 years ago. He says, forget about balance and strive for harmony, because the secret to finding balance is it doesn't exist. And I remember as a young mother and a full-time college student and working 2 or 3 jobs to keep a roof over my head, everybody kept telling me, Steve, you got to find that work-life balance. And to me, I always think of balance as a skill, and this is a balanced skill. And if you are trying to do this and keep work here and your home life here, all your social things, your community involved, you're trying to keep it balanced, you are absolutely going to go into burnout. And so what Ivan tells us is you got to strive for harmony. And that means going up and down and being okay with that. Like this week, I've been on my staycation. And so I've been okay knowing that, hey, it's okay for me to check out. I've spent more time with my community the past 3 days. So my community involvement's up here. My work is down here. My family's always going to be up here because that's my number one priority. But you got to find that ebb and flow. And so he gives us 4 tips in this podcast. And the number 1 tip is to be here now. We've heard that. Be in the present. Live in the present. Enjoy your children if you have children. Enjoy the moments. And I always say this to my fellow moms and grandmas is normally we're behind the camera, Steve, taking the pictures. Camera down. And remember that moment. Be in the moment.
I think that is important.
Yeah. And I look back and I'm like, oh, I don't remember it. And I'm in very few of our family photos on my end because I'm behind the camera. And so be in the moment. Live in the moment. The next thing he says, set a time for things that matter. And we're going to talk about this, prioritizing things. Set aside time for things that matter. So if you have a nonprofit you work for, block that off. We're going to talk about time blocking too. And I'm excited about that. Find ways to integrate part of your life. My family, as you know, Steve, I'm very involved in Rotary, which takes up a lot of my weekends. I take my family with me. Because I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this service project, and they are fulfilled with it too. And then the 4th thing and final thing is we always hear, you can't take it with you when you go, right? And what would 70-year-old you say? I wish I would spend more time at the office. I don't know any retiree that says, I wish I would have spent more time at the office. I wish I would have spent more time on emails or any of that, because it doesn't happen. Most retirees, their biggest regret was, I wish I'd taken more paid time off. I wish I would have been better at planning vacations. We're going to talk about that too. I wish I would have spent more time. It's always a wish I would have, but not one person ever said, I wish I would have spent more time at the office. If I just sent that last email. So make time for the things that are important for you and find that harmony and be okay with it. Be okay if you know, like last week, Steve, I was traveling to Houston, crazy week. I wasn't going to be able to see my family all week. Be okay with that because I knew come the weekend, I was shutting everything off and it was family time. And I'm okay with that. So also side note here, while we're talking about Dr. Meisner, and I'll put it in chat, we have our Ivan's Inner Circle coming up next Tuesday. I'll put the registration link in chat here in just a second. But make sure you register because it's going to also talk about some time management as leadership. And what do leadership teams need? Leadership team skills, time management is part of that. So, all right. Number 10. Let me get this link popped over in there for you.
Yep, that'd be great. By the way, while you're doing that, Linda says she was at the Lizzo concert in Charlotte and only took 3 photos because she could be in the moment. I am fascinated watching people record events that they're taking part in, and watching through the screen rather than watching what's in front of you.
It really blows my mind. And I think about the last vacation my husband and I went on. I was like, "Where's your pictures?" I'm like, "I didn't take any. I took like 1 or 2 of us." And I was like, I literally lived in the moment. So
that is a rare thing these days. So that's great.
So I put the chat for Ivan's Inner, or the link to register into Ivan's Inner Circle over there. Cool. So that's next Tuesday. If you'll notice, please pay attention to the time zone. It is in Central Time, Texas time. So for our East Coast friends, which are what, 51% of the country, Steve?
Yeah.
Is that what we decided?
I think it's 49%, but I'll take 51.
Make sure you pay attention to the time zone.
Right. Okay,
right.
Excellent.
Number 9.
Right, let's move on to number 9 as we talk about some ways to do this. Does anyone know what the 2-minute rule is? Or you may have heard it as the 5-minute rule. Throw it in the chat. It has nothing to do with dropping food on the floor. That's the 20-second rule.
Okay.
All right, we got a nope.
All
right, that was simple.
I've never heard of it until Steve and I were talking about this.
Yes, Laura's got it. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. If something comes across your desk and it's a quick email or text reply or something that you can just get out of the way, do it right there in the moment, because those little things pile up or you forget about them because they were so small compared to all the big things that you're doing. And then things fall through the cracks. And then, and all you had to do was say, yes, I'll be at that meeting, or here's the file I promised you, or something like that.
And Steve, I don't know about your email, but some of my emails and text messages have auto reply on it as well. You literally, I don't know how it does it, like reads the email and it gives suggested replies. And yes, I'll be there.
Yes.
The date. I use that all the time.
I am seeing that now, and we see it on Facebook and most chat things have that as well. By the way, there's something that I did not include in here, and this is a good time to add to it. Look, we're only on number 9, and I'm like, let's add this extra one. It's going to be one of those webinars, folks. So listen, I heard this just yesterday, and of all places, on TikTok, a place where you should not be spending too much time because time management.
How about time management?
But I was on TikTok looking for time management tips, and there was this one it blew me away. It really should have been on here. Let's make it number 8.5.
Okay, works for me.
So this one is, did you know that you can put messages that you often use for replies? Like, let's say someone is asking you when this week's webinar is. Every time someone asks me that, I look up the link, and I throw it in there. You can put it in your email signature, a block of text, and choose that signature to just throw right into an email. So it's already done. Love that idea. Barry is way ahead of us. He's using it. That's great. Yeah.
So,
but it's kind of brilliant.
What? Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, because you can have like 10 different signatures. So why not put the things that you say the most and send all the time right there, right? Yeah. Oh, Danielle wants it one more time. So yes. So in your signature box where you can choose different signatures to use in your emails, put your responses that you use the most all the time. And Linda says, or use email templates, right? They're a great time saver. Absolutely. Anything that you can use that you reply all the time, have it handy. That will save you lots of time.
Yep. Love it. Love it.
Is it only for Outlook? I don't know that because I have an Apple computer next to my PC that I have.
Me too.
BNI work and my copywriting work, and I can in Apple Mail I can choose signatures as well. So that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Right.
I know you
That might
can.
have been the best one. It's not even on the list. Oh well.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Love it.
Is that
All right. Now that we have
all
a
right, 2-minute rule is done. Let's talk about prioritizing our lives first. I think this is a big one because before you do any scheduling or looking at what you've got going on in your life, you have to figure out what's important and what has to get done. And sometimes you have to factor in your personal stuff. You may have a doctor's appointment or you have something to do with your children or whatever. So make the priorities happen. And one thing that we talked about before this webinar started was, why not at the beginning, like we got a new year coming up, why don't you schedule out your vacation time? Block it off first before all the other stuff gets in there.
Well, and I'm guilty of this, Steve, because the reason I've been on my staycation is because I didn't plan. And when you don't plan, it doesn't happen. And so here I am, the end of the year, I've got 3 weeks paid vacation. And so I am a staycation failure. I'll put it out there because I had to take the time. You either take it or you lose it. And so take it, plan it out. And I wish my husband and I would have planned a trip, a 3-day trip or something, because I'm sitting at home alone. The kids are at school, he's at work. Right. And also, I know Tom Fleming is on here, but he has a saying about culture too. And it's so important because if you're not creating the culture, whether it's in your business or your chapter, someone else is creating it for you. Think about that with your time too, because you can let things control your schedule. You can let the Rotary control your schedule if you don't prioritize it and say, what's important to me? And I feel like each week or each day, there could be a different priority. Today, I'm technically off, but I come out of off day because Steve, I'll do anything for Steve Tannuzzo. But today it's all about, I've got to get some personal stuff done, things I don't have time to speak, the car inspected, the things done. And so make it a priority. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So if I can move this, there we go. How about this one? Now, I will tell you, yesterday, I really should have been taking advantage of this. I was like nonstop yesterday. I had 3 communications that had to go out and I had to help somebody else and all this other stuff was going on. And it was exhausting. And at some point you kind of crash. For me, it's like usually right around 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's like the 3 o'clock crash and you're like, oh, taking a quick 10-minute break or 5-minute break in between meetings. I'm seeing people scheduling a 25-minute meeting on Calendly now instead of doing a full 30 minutes just to, a bathroom break or just walking around or getting out of your chair. So important.
Well, and a pro tip I know you talked to Steve, you have a MacBook. For those of us that have the Apple Watches and the Fitbit, mine goes off at 10 minutes till every hour and reminds me to stand up and take a break. And you can set different settings on it. I have started doing this and I will tell you, I feel so much better just to step away. So every hour I step away, whether it's to go refill my water or I'm trying to get my steps in, I will go outside now that the weather's cooler and take a walk around the block. Just get some fresh air. That's refreshing too, because when you're in a stuffy office like mine, it doesn't have any windows that will open or close, just getting out and get some sunshine. So very important just to step away. And guess what? Things can wait. Like they can wait that 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. So
I heard something about there's is it like a 20-20 rule? Is that what it is? If you're like staring at computers all day and your eyes are getting tired, to every 20, it's 20-20-20, but every 20 minutes to either stand up or just look at something that's at least 20 feet away from you and focus on that so that your eyes are not just looking in the same place all day for 8 hours straight. It's supposed to help with your eye fatigue.
Yeah. And the eye fatigue is real. That's why I have usually about, like you said, Steve, 2 or 3. I have to put on the reader and it's time.
These, I got the other ones. Yeah.
Steve's got I think we all at a certain age had these like, wait, I can't, let me hold it out here so I can see it.
All right. Next.
The blue light shields do help for screens for sure.
No question about that. All right. Next, write it, speak it, remember it. There's so much going on in our lives and it's happening wherever we are because we're on the phone in our car now. We might be taking meetings or doing a Zoom or whatever as we drive or Well, it's just like information all over the place. And so storing it in one place is important, but we all do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I am finding, after being deep into tech for a long time for my note taking and stuff, that I'm going back to analog, paper and pen, writing stuff down. So if that works for you, carry a little notebook. I've got a very big book. I don't know, you kind of see it. There it is. Full of notes, and yeah, because it just, stuff comes so fast. But there are things that are very cool, like if you have an iPad, you can take notes on that. There's something called Remarkable, which is kind of like a little tablet that writes very smoothly and feels like paper.
Yep.
So
and you can create different folders for different things.
Right. And
yeah, it's like yes, a few people have a Remarkable.
Yeah. Oh, Rocketbook is good. That's the one that you, is that the one that you put in the microwave and you erase it? Is that what it is? I don't know. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. That's all I'm saying. But yes, for people who write with pen and paper, right?
Yeah, I'm going back to old school, writing it down, Steve, in a journal and a notebook, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute.
Yeah.
I figure what's good for you, use it. And like I said, these are just some things that Steve and I have found effective for us. I find carrying a notebook, because I always will have it with me. My iPad, sometimes I pull it out and it didn't charge overnight or something. And so my pen and paper, it never fails me. So
right. That thing in the middle is, by the way, just a voice recording app. You may have one natively on your phone. If not, you can find one in any app store. And those are great for voice messages. I have a client who I write blog entries for, and she sends me audio files because that's what works best for her. She likes to just say it. And so she records what she wants and she sends it along, and I work from the audio file. So whatever works best for you. And of course, these four off to the side are your basic note-taking apps, starting with OneNote from Microsoft. To the right, that yellow one is Apple's, what's it called? Apple Notes, right? They're very simple.
Or something like that.
It's just Apple Notes, yeah. The one on the bottom left is Google Keep. And of course, the elephant is Evernote. Whatever works best for you. They've all kind of become pretty much the same at this point. Although I think Apple's is specifically simpler and easier to use. There's a lot more to do in things like Evernote and OneNote.
Yep.
And I haven't used Google Keep yet, but basically it's the same idea.
Yeah. So pick your poison, whatever you got.
If you have a favorite of these note-taking apps, I'm curious which one you use, or do you use a different one?
Kay says pen and paper never fails. We've seen some, saw somebody say that they had a client, I thought. Voice memos on the iPhone is fabulous. Driving around town. Yes, please don't be writing and driving.
Yeah.
And pen and paper. Somebody said that the Notably app. Heather says Notably app for iPad. You can hand it in the Apple Pencil.
It's pretty cool.
And
by the way, there's something, Notability is one, and there's another one called, I think, Good Notes. But there's a thing that they call, that's called Paper-like, and it's a clear cover that you can put, like a clear film on your iPad, so that when you're writing with an Apple Pencil, it's kind of scratchy and it feels like you're writing on paper as opposed to writing on glass, which is not the most fun thing to do.
Let me write this on my piece of paper as a note.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Samsung Notes. Okay. There's another good one. Note Block. Yeah. Paper's $40. It's just an anti-glare screen protector. Yeah. Well, I agree that it is expensive. There are cheaper alternatives out there. That's great. Awesome. Samsung Notes seems like it's a popular one.
Yeah. So, cool. Notebook app incorporates OCR. Will let you save to Google directly. Love that. Again, great time-saving tips.
Right.
Anything that integrates, and this is not a plug for Mac at all, but I love my Apple products because it saves all in one spot. Like phone, iPad, my MacBook, everything just talks to each other, and I love it because whether I'm traveling or I'm at home or up here at the office, I'm like, oh, where did I put that? Oh, it's in.
It's on your phone and your iPad and on your computer as well. Yeah. All right, Danielle, don't get ahead of us. We're going to talk about to-do
we're going to talk about it. So. All right.
That's our prompt to keep going. But first, let's talk about calendars.
And I don't know about you, Steve, but we talk about prioritizing.
Mhm.
I live and breathe by my calendar.
Yeah.
And if it's on the calendar, it doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
my family now knows this. We have a family calendar. And
Mhm.
so they know where mom's going to be on Friday morning or Thursday night. And then if they need mom time, or if my Rotary board needs me, my CSCs know this. I know Kay's on here, Michael Parker. They know to use my Calendly link, because that's the only time that I can get like schedule that one-to-one time. And I love Calendly. It integrates with Zoom, which is another feature of it. So again, we talk about time saving. One of the best calendar management tools that I know of.
Yeah, if you use Calendly, it's something that I have a Calendly account, but I don't use it that much.
What?
But I know, but I started using HubSpot's CRM, and they have a similar function in there. But whatever you're using really doesn't matter. But I think that this is a great way for people to, because you know how many times people say, well, when can you meet? And I go, let me stop what I'm doing and look on my calendar, and these are the 4 dates I can do it. If they have this, they can choose the time, and you know you're going to be available.
Well, and I think we talked about email templates. I think this would be a great email template to save. It's like, here's my Calendly link, pick your time. And somebody asked if it interfaces with Outlook. Yes. But it's very important that if you're going to be out of the office, to mark out of the office.
Howard.
Yeah.
That's what my assistant is for. That's how you do it. That's being a boss right there.
Talking about delegating, saving some time management, right?
Yeah. Carlos, make that happen. He's going to set me up on my Calendly account.
I love it. I love it. Yes. Let's see. Software has calendar too that integrates. Yeah. Rochelle, I think I'm saying that name right, has 5 calendars to manage. I do too. So I have my Rotary calendar, my personal one. I create different links for each one of them. And I did create one thing I do with Calendly is I create different times. So if it's just a quick 15-minute call, I have a 15-minute one. For interviews, Steve, you know, they can go a little bit longer, sometimes an hour. One-to-ones, BNI one-to-ones. You can actually put your gains profile, your bio sheet, all the things for a BNI one-to-one in that Calendly invite. And it sends it already. So someone wants to do an invite with me, I'm like, here's the one-to-one, and it gives them all the documents.
Nice.
Yep. So.
All right. So,
all right. And still blown through half of our time.
I know.
We always have so much fun.
I know, right? That went fast. All right. Let's talk about our apps, our CRMs. Who uses a CRM right now? This is the HubSpot app, which I was talking about earlier, which I love. I know I love it. It's free. Okay. It doesn't cost you anything. And I don't have like a giant, business with employees and stuff like that. So the simple free version works great for me. Keep all my clients in there. And as you can see, here you can talk about, setting up appointments and following up and closing out accounts, all that stuff. It's really, really good. But if you use Salesforce or, I don't know, Trello or whatever you use for your CRM, good for you. I think Monday.com is getting very popular.
I was looking at Monday yesterday, actually.
Yeah. So whatever you use, I think it is a great thing too.
Well, and it helps with it. We're all in sales, whether you know it or not. Any business owner is always in sales. Whether that's your title after your name, whatever, you're in sales. And for me, I love Salesforce because it literally, you can do a checklist. Here's, in BNI, for example, here's when we did our intro call with the visitors, a welcome call. Here's how and here's who did the follow-up, and delegate. I love someone, I forgot already who said their assistant, delegate it and say, I delegate this task to Steve. And then you can go in and put the notes of what the follow-up was. But again, these are just things Steve and I have found that works for us. The key is find what works for you and utilize it. Anything to save your time. So.
And by the way, Alan mentions Thrive. So I spoke with someone who works with Thrive and has for many, many years. And she's going to actually be presenting in a few weeks on the system, where it's kind of like an all-in-one super CRM. So we'll talk about that soon. So
I'm going to write that down as well. My pad.
TH. Yeah.
There we go.
All right. So next, what's next?
Number 3.
All right. A few different apps that we want to talk about. So 1Password and Dashlane do the same thing, which is basically they manage your passwords.
Yep.
And as we all know, we all have hundreds and hundreds of passwords. I was looking in to how many passwords I had in my old ones that I haven't looked at in like 10 years.
Yeah.
That should just be deleted and accounts closed. But we're making passwords all the time, and being able to easily switch all of your passwords with just 1Password or Dashlane or whatever similar app that you use is a huge time saver.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, Steve, but how many times have you forgotten your password? And you're like, oh, what was it? Especially now with the strength, you have to have the ones that, has to have a numeral and a sign and different things. There's no such thing as using, you used to be your favorite child, and that was your passcode.
Yeah.
My children joke all the time about my granddaughter. They're like, well, we're glad we're not the password children anymore. But it's like, what was that password? Then you have to go through answer security questions. And if one thing is spelled wrong on the security question, I was trying to log into Facebook the other day from a different device. I'm like, I have no idea what my password is.
Yeah, it can be
I
tough.
don't dare want to reset it because I'm like, so having a tool that has your password saved is so, such a time saver.
Right. And but there was another one in the comments that LastPass is similar to those as well.
Okay. Dropbox password manager. I use a lot of Dropbox.
Yeah.
Another time-saving tool. We talked about someone mentioned earlier about the to-do list.
Todoist, yeah, it's Todoist, and that is an app that is kind of very robust for if you're a to-do list person, and that's how you work. This one I looked at like different rankings, and this one I think averaged as the number one most I guess best and easiest to work with, but it's got the most features on it as well. And as you can see, what you can see on your screen as opposed to your desktop, it can be almost like a mini CRM.
I love it. And then Steve, I think I showed this to you earlier. This is my to-do list. So having something like that you could
quite
carry.
A few you got there.
Yeah, it's quite embarrassing. Like every now and then I'll send Jenny Butts a picture of my desk and say, my priority today is get this desk cleaned off. And it gives her anxiety because she's like, I do function in that. And I'm like, I know I can do better.
Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty neat.
Yeah, she's all right. We'll keep her.
Well, I meant organized, but yeah, she's cool too. That's funny. Okay. Yeah. So, and we also, honorable mention there to Microsoft's To Do, which is also a really good, fairly easy app to use for your to-do list. There's lots of other ones as well. If you manage a team, though, and work in teams, Slack and Microsoft Teams are the two go-tos, I think, for file storage and for chatting and for keeping up on different projects that you're working on. Really, really helpful. I know in BNI we use Teams. Becky, you want to talk a little bit about how you use it?
I love Microsoft Teams. Again, disclaimer: we're not paid for any of these, but I was actually talking to a BNI member doing some coaching because she was struggling with some time management, different things. And I suggested you get use the Microsoft Teams because she said, my biggest time suck is I forget where I store things. Like I'll download it on this computer or I download it on my home computer. And so I walked her through Teams. Well, not only is it a communication tool, as my chapter success coaches will tell you, that's the best way to get in touch with me is Microsoft Teams. You can have it on your computer, you can have it on your phone, however you want to do it. So huge communication, but it's also a data storage. You can put files in there and store your presentations or store your to-do list or whatever it may be, your Excel sheets. You can add members to it. So kind of like Google Docs where you can live edit it. You can do that in Teams. So look into it. It is a Microsoft product. So if you have Outlook, I think it's included with that suite, whatever you buy. The more I'm talking to business owners, the more I see them using it because it is a collaboration tool as well. So, but we love it. I think any chapter success coach on here will tell you that's our biggest form of communication and storage is, and my team knows that I'll tell you when they ask for something, I'm like, it's in the Teams folder, go look. Instead of me having to go look, where did I find it? Microsoft OneDrive is also a great way to store things.
Yeah.
But I personally like Teams because I can create different folders and my team can get to it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I just love having everything all in one place. So I know when someone sends me a file and then I have to, find it like 3 months later, I'm like, oh yeah, I know you put it in our chat and I'm going to find it and there it is. And you can like pin stuff to the top.
Oh yeah, and you can do it has a search bar at the top. So as long as you kind of know what you're looking for, so if it's BNI Talks, Steve and Becky, boom, there it is. So, so how do I recommend use that for my chapter? The thing with your chapter is everyone would have to have access to it.
That's always the tricky part.
I would say if you're going to do it a chapter, WhatsApp would probably be my go-to for stuff like that, because it's a communication. It's not as robust as Teams, but it's definitely the best communication tool.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it is nice however you do it. I know there are some people that do a private Facebook group because you can store files on there and stuff. So whatever works best for you, that's easiest for people to access and won't cost them anything.
Yeah. Rachel's, they said they use GroupMe. That's what my Rotary uses. So great stuff. You can store your files in there for your chapter.
Right. All right.
All right. We're down to the final. Almost. Yeah. Good stuff. I always learn something from this call.
There's a lot going on this one. All right. So what's number 2?
Number 2. Guilty.
Guilty. How many givers gainers out there? People who want to help people all the time need to learn to say no. I know I do.
Yeah. I am so bad at this, Steve. Because, and then for me too, sometimes as a mom, especially, it's like, it's just easier for me to do it myself. Let me just do it. Instead of delegating or saying no. And Ivan has once said that, saying no to you means saying yes to me. And I find that I'm like, this year I have resigned from a few boards that I sit on because I said this year I want to make my family my priority. Because, we had COVID and recovering from that and things were just crazy. And even though I felt like I was spending more time at home, I wasn't present there as I was in a board meeting or I was doing this or that. And so, saying no is so important. I even have chapter success coaches. I know Sarah Ross isn't on here, but she's in Austin and she told me no. And I had to applaud her because I was asking her to do something. She said, I'm going to have to say no to you. I was like, good for you. So
I don't think enough people do that. And I think, we were talking about how sometimes you want to say yes because you want to help people, but you realize that you're giving up your own time and therefore you're going to fall behind sometimes by helping other people do their stuff. So I think you have to weigh that every time. Then people ask you to do, if it's something quick and simple, no big deal. But if it's something like, could you take time out of your vacation to do a webinar? By the way, I would not have ever done that. She volunteered.
I did volunteer. So for those of you who, I know my team knows this, I'm actually on vacation, a staycation. And we had some last minute changes. And so Steve is a very dear friend of mine. And so I would do anything for him because he is important in our life. And so I had breakfast with my husband this morning, which we never get to hardly ever do. And he's like, what's your plan? I was like, well, I'm doing a webinar with Steve. And he's like, babe, you're on vacation. I'm like, but it's Steve. And that's all I had to say, but it's Steve. He's like, you're right. And it's only an hour. And guess what? I'm checking out after this. So my team that's on, I'm not working. So saying no. And I will say, it goes back to that 2-minute, 5-minute rule. If it takes just 2 minutes or less, go ahead and do it. This is an hour out of my day. I'm happy to do it. I personally love when Steve invites me on. We have a lot of fun. I don't know if y'all were on at the beginning, but we were talking and we actually had belly laughs. So that just it just makes my day off right whenever we can have laughter and stuff. So yes, it goes back to that 2-minute rule. It's only an hour. I can get it done. So, and I have fun doing it. So,
oh, look, Kay said she said no to you for a year before she
became. She did. She kept telling me no. And I was like, I will crack her. So.
Mary Beth, I like that advice. What's my motive for saying yes?
Yeah.
Harmony
always talks about the WIFM. What's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. It's okay to ask what's in it for me. If someone's asking you, like Kay telling me no, she shot me down hard for a year. What's in it for me? I'm like, look, here's the benefits of being a chapter success coach. I think you're gonna get value out of it. And I hope she is getting value. I feel like she is getting value, and she is an amazing chapter success coach.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at number one before we get to our bonus. But, yeah,
all right, let's do this.
It's time boxing. Who knows about this? Throw this into the chat if you've seen this before. This is kind of like to-do list and calendaring and prioritizing all in one place. It is like time blocking. Yes, exactly. And so this is something that on all of the apps and the TikToks and the Facebooks and the Google that I've done to find out what is the top time management tip. Everybody says time boxing. This is like Elon Musk's, that's hard to say, go to for his time. And so this is about, and this is how it works. So time boxing is starting your day with a big to-do list, right? So you've got maybe 10 different items on there to do. That goes in the, if you look in the clean sheet to the left, that goes in the brain dump section. And of the brain dump section, you're going to pick the 3 things that must get done today, put that in your top priorities. And then you'll see on the other side here, those top 3s are put into the schedule, and they are blocked off with time that you're going to focus on doing those things specifically, right? And the beauty of this is you can work everything around it. And if all the other stuff doesn't get done, at least you got done the most important things, and you actually schedule them in to your day. So put those things into your calendar as well. But it's really, I've been doing this now for about 3 weeks, and it works. I always think that, I've always had a to-do list off to the side, like Becky, your 10,000 sheets of to-dos. And, it's like good intentions, but they don't always get done because you're doing other stuff. And I think you have to really start looking at, all right, I'm scheduling everybody else into my calendar. I need to schedule myself into my calendar as well.
Right. Yeah. And it goes back to, we talk with a lot of chapters and chapter success coaches about, you've got to write your goals down. Yep. I think you really need to write your day down. Plan your day, plan it out. I'm going to start doing this because I think in my mind, because I do live and breathe by my calendar, but when I look at my calendar, it's for everyone else. And, and that's what this week of my staycation, I've had to do the doctor. I get to go to the grocery store, getting the cars inspected. Like, it's important. If I don't have an inspection, I'm going to get pulled over and it's going to cost me money.
That's right.
It is in Mass, but in Texas, that's how it works. Like, they're waiting for the second of the month to roll around.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So getting those done and making it a priority. So I love this. I'm actually going to start using this next week.
Todd is asking, is this worksheet available somewhere? Yeah, I saw it on Amazon in like 12,000 different forms. But there's one which is just the pad, and this is meant to be like a 1 sheet a day, so that what's at the top of the pad is what's happening on your day. So if you didn't get everything done, you want to transfer some of that stuff for tomorrow's brain dump, that's all well and good. But it's meant to be kind of a clean one thing that's on your desk, but they do sell it in a book form as well. So you can check out a few different ones on the internet. A lot of people use Franklin Covey, which is like the legend. They kind of started that kind of idea from way back. And
Rhonda says he's been using it since 2002.
Yeah, whatever works for you is what works best. But I thought this was kind of a new way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And
Danielle, I feel like my brain dump would take more spaces than allowed. Yeah. True.
Don't dump too much out.
Yeah. So I think it's the top things. I love that because mine too. It's kind of like whenever I word vomit, I'm like, okay, I got to get all this stuff done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start using this and definitely making it a priority.
So, all right, let's get to our bonus one. Our bonus is this. I found this on the internet as I was looking at time boxing, and it's this list of 100 productivity tips. And so I'm putting it in the chat right now. I actually jumped the gun earlier and put it in, but it already made its way up the ladder. Here it is again for you to download. And, there's a lot of really good ones that we talked about today, but there's, about 90 or so other ones on there that you can look at to help make your life easier. I think what's important, though, is kind of starting with one at a time. You don't want to take on all of this stuff, because then that's going to be what your time is. Your time is going to be trying to save time.
Right.
Just implement one, and if that works, try another one, whatever you can do just to make your life easier and better.
Well, and it kind of reminds me of the book, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
One thing until it becomes a habit before you add anything else. Like the guy that wanted to get healthier, putting his shoes by his bed, then putting the shoes on, then going to the gym, and then actually working out. And so our whole purpose for the last 45 minutes was find what works for you. It's kind of like what we tell new chapters. Don't come in new chapter leadership and say, we're just going to change everything. Take baby steps, incorporate it slowly. You may find that, hey, time boxing doesn't work for me. I'm not a paper girl. I need my electronics. So I think the most important tip is to find what works best for you. So,
yeah.
All right. I'm going to take an opportunity, selfish plug here. I'm going to put Ivan's Inner Circle back in.
Oh, great. Yeah. And that's for all leadership team members, right?
Yep. Leadership support team. Come and learn from, I always learn something from Ivan. Like I said, I've been in BNI for almost 13 years. Every time I hear him talk, I'm like, oh, that's good. Just like these. I mean, I needed the Paperlight thing. I need looking to Thrive. I need looking. So I'm making notes as we're doing this, because we always say that we learn from our members. Some of our best practices come from our members. So,
right.
And then Steve, I'm going to do a bonus plug here. See, Steve and I have these QR codes. Where am I at? Behind us.
Yeah. There it is.
There it is.
Hard to do it is the opposite.
In about 3.5 weeks, we have this thing called Global Convention coming up. And I love our speakers, because we have one, and their names just slipped my mind. We have a guy that's talking, Anthony, I think is his name, talking about cells and processes. So we want to talk about time. And then we have someone talking about retention. And then, of course, we're going to hear from Ivan and Graham, our CEO. So good stuff. So make sure you're registered. It is virtual. If you register virtually, you have the content for a full year, which I love going back and listening, because Steve, as you know, you can't attend all the sessions at once, because there may be 3 or 4 sessions going on, and you have to pick one. But going back and listening to it, we've had some of my favorite speakers have been at BNI International Conference. So our convention, I keep calling it conference, it's convention.
Yeah, well, I know. Well, yeah, I guess when it's local,
it's conference,
local
right?
To the United States of America, then it's a conference, and then if it's international, it's a convention. Yeah.
So it's gonna be a lot of fun, and of course, you can always join us in Singapore. So
that's true.
So
I will not be traveling to Singapore, but I will be working virtually in the chat room. So you will see me there, and you can say hello.
I will be in person. So hopefully you'll see some of y'all on the screen. So,
all right, next week, this is going to be a good one. We sent out this email yesterday. Create your 2023 marketing budget with Joshua Iverson, who is really great at this stuff. This is going to be a really good one. If you're thinking about, or if you've never actually had a marketing budget, you're just kind of winging it, this is a really good webinar to take in, because you're really going to learn about how to set parameters for what parts of your business deserve what percentage of time and or money to make your marketing budget work for you. So even if you don't have much of a budget, Joshua is here to show us how to make the most of it. So we hope we'll see you all next week. Let me just jump into Q&A to see if there's anything here. Ed asks, any tips for teaching time management to a work group in a 1-hour session? Ooh. That sounds like maybe, Becky, I'm thinking like a business coach maybe who might be able to do that, or someone who's an expert on time management to do a Zoom into your room. Do we have any suggestions? Throw that in the chat for Ed. That would be fantastic.
Well, and again, full disclosure, Steve or I, neither one, are time management coaches, experts. We have found what works best for us. I would say, and we've been together an hour, you could probably take this presentation and teach it to your and plug here for Steve, these sessions are recorded. So go back and listen. If you see something that's like, oh, I missed it. Steve always does a great job making sure the chat gets sent out to everyone, because there's, again, different tips and tricks that we learn from our members. But I still need to go back, and it's on my to-do list today, the TikTok one, because
Oh, yeah.
I get better at TikTok. This is more of a target market. More and more people are moving over to the TikTok platform. So I want to learn how to do better, because right now all it is dogs and tortoises, and every now and then the occasional chicken. So I'm like, I really want to know how to promote my business with TikTok or give helpful tips. So
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm glad everyone is enjoying these. That's why we keep doing them. We are going to do another year of them next year. So we're already booking into January for speakers. If you are someone who would love to present on a certain topic, please send me an email. And it's just my name, Steve Tannuzzo @bni.com.
yeah,
And we will do a one-to-one, see if it's a good fit, and put it on the schedule.
lots of good topics. January is coming up, health and wellness. That's when everyone seems to reset their goal for health and wellness.
Mhm.
I always think it's great to get physically in shape, but you also get mentally in shape and emotionally, because that's more important. We used to, on our Business Booster series, we did a lot of talking about that, with getting mentally and emotionally in shape. And so I love this stuff, because you got to do that to run a business. It's always not just business. You got to, take care of yourself as well. So
excellent. Yeah. And I think that we'll be talking about a lot of that stuff. Obviously, this past year has been marketing heavy, and based on what we've been putting out there for marketing your business, our audiences keep growing. We keep getting more and more people on, so we're giving you what you want. So if you have a good idea for a webinar, even if you don't want to be the presenter, send me an email, let me know. The more we learn about what you want to see, the more we'll be able to schedule those in.
Right. We have 227 people on today. So it keeps growing and growing. And I love seeing everyone when I come on, seeing the repeat members and coaches come on.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being on today. Again, Becky, thanks for taking time out of your staycation.
Anything for you, Steve Tannuzzo.
What kind of fun stuff you're doing today? Cleaning out the closets or doing your thing?
Cleaning out closets, cleaning out the tort. If you do follow me on social media, you'll see that we used to have a tort townhome where the tortoises live, Willis and Frank. We have now built them what I call the tort fort. It's a huge greenhouse area. So we're cleaning that up, moving them into their new space for winter, and lots of fun. So
that sounds good. Well, thanks, of course, for being on. I'm sure we'll see lots of you again next year.
Yes. All right.
And everybody, give yourselves a CEU, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Bye, everyone. Make it a great day. Bye.